friends, how are you? Welcome to your own channel Medu Study. I am your friend Ashutosh from IIM Indore, and friends, as you all know, Medu Study is your own channel initiative in which we discuss various management topics and subjects in a very simple manner. Friends, we have modules on different subjects of management including marketing management, organizational behavior, operations management, strategic management and human resource management. Our today's video, my dear friends, is from our organizational behavior module, which is the OB module. We were getting feedback from our subscribers to develop videos on topics like perception, learning, motivation, and keeping in mind the feedback, we are starting it. Let us begin today's video, and our today's topic is perception. We will cover this topic in two videos. First video is today, and then we will have another video in the playlist. Let us discuss, understand. So to begin with perception, first we need to understand a word very important, which is stimulus. What is stimulus? Stimulus is a thing or event that arouses a specific functional reaction in human being. So anything or any event which has some reaction in the human being, that is basically known as stimulus. Take an example. You are sitting in office doing your work, suddenly you hear the fire alarm. Your quick reaction will be getting up, getting out of the office. So that fire alarm was the stimulus. You are traveling on a road, suddenly you smell very pungent smell, or something is rotten or something like that smell. Your immediate reaction will be you will cover your nose with hanky or with your hand. What is that pungent smell? That is example of stimulus. You are moving, someone approaches you and brings his hand like this in front of you. You will quickly cover your hand and you will move backward. What is this punch? This is example of stimulus. So stimulus is a thing or event which arouses a specific functional reaction in a human being. After understanding stimulus, let us understand perception. Perception is a process of interpretation of stimulus perceived through the sensory organs of individuals. So interpreting that stimulus through the sensory organs of individuals, that process is known as perception. And when we say sensory organs, there are 5 senses which gives you this, which are touch, taste, sight, hearing and smell. You taste through your tongue, touch through the skin, then sight is through eyes, hearing through ears and smell is through nose. These 5 sense organs are basically known as sensory organs. Type of perception. Now there are basically 2 types of perception. First perception is known as visual perception. It is a process through which a naked eye detects light, depth, etc. around a stimulus and interprets it. That is known as visual perception. So your naked eye means uncovered eye, that is detecting the light, depth and interpreting. Vision has specific sensory system, the visual system. Objects and events in human surroundings act as digital stimuli. So the different things which are there in the environment, those objects and events, those basically act as the stimulus. This is known as visual perception. Now auditory perception. It is a process by which the brain interprets what an individual hears. That is known as auditory perception. The brain is interpreting what individual is hearing. Brain interprets the incoming noise into something useful and comprehensible, and after interpreting it, it is comprehending it into something useful and something comprehensible. Like I mentioned that alarm, like I mentioned that horn or that particular sound of that ambulance. Importance of perception. Why perception is important? Perception is a cognitive process which involves the interpretation of stimulus in environment and comprehending its meaning. It is a cognitive process. So importance of perception can be explained with the help of SOBC model. Now let us discuss this SOBC model. SOBC model was given by friend Luthens. It stands for S is for stimulus, O is for organism, B is for behavior and C is for consequence. It helps to understand, predict, control organizational behavior on basis of managing the contingent environment. We will discuss this entire model. First of all, let us see how this model is structured. So first you have stimulus. Stimulus acts on the organism. Then there is a behavior which comes from that organism, and there is a consequence out of it. And all these are interlinked. Now we will discuss all these 4 elements one by one. Let us begin with the stimulus. An organism perceives a stimulus from the environment. Stimulus potentially influences the behavior. So organism is perceiving the stimulus from the environment and it is influencing the behavior. There are basically 2 types of stimuli. First is known as overt, O for overt, and it is related to observable. So these are the signals in the environment which are observable. That is known as overt stimuli. For example, other individuals, objects, etc. Second is known as covert stimuli. These are the signals in environment that are not consciously observed. For example, cold weather stimulating an individual to light fire. When you're going on the roadside, you are seeing other people, other objects, that is example of overt stimuli. And for example, you are sitting outside and you suddenly start feeling cold, you will light maybe some fire, or you will, if you have some woolen cloth, you will cover yourself with that woolen cloth. All these are example of covert stimuli. Next we come to O, which is organism. Organism uses the senses sight, hear, touch, smell, taste to perceive the stimulus. So whatever stimulus was coming to the organism, whether it was overt or it was covert, organism is using the 5 senses to perceive that particular stimulus. This is known as organism. Next is the B. Sensory data is interpreted in human brain, which marks the human behavior towards stimulus. Response to stimulus is particular instance of behavior. Now there can be 2 types of behavior: overt behavior and covert behavior. Overt is open and observable, moving a piece in a game of chess. For example, you are playing a game of chess. Imagine your contestant has done a move. Now your move, you pick your pawn or you pick your horse and move it to a particular area. This is known as overt behavior. You are moving to that particular thing. Now you will not move that thing just like that. No? There will be some calculation which you will do in mind, some logic that you will apply. So all that thinking, analyzing, that is hidden, concealed and secretive, and that is basically example of covert behavior. Next is consequence. All type of behavior result in an outcome. So consequence is basically this outcome, the behavior that it is there. And there can be 2 types of behavior, outcome, positive as well as negative. Positive result in satisfaction and desire to repeat. So some behavior, if it is leading to some satisfaction, you will want to repeat it. Take an example, you worked very hard in your office project, basis that you got bonus as well as good increment. So now you will want to repeat, next time also you will work hard. This is example of positive consequence. Another, you worked hard for your studies in school, you got appreciation from your teacher when you got very good marks. This is, so positive consequence will be next time also you will like to work hard. Next is the negative consequence, result in dissatisfaction and desire not to repeat. So a behavior, when it leads to something which dissatisfies you or leads to negative satisfaction, you will not want to repeat it. For example, being punished for disturbing the class discourages the student from doing so in future. You are making some noise, teacher punishes you, slaps you in front of entire class. Next time you will not do that. Or when we said good marks, take example, you did not study for the exam, you failed in the exam and teacher scolded you in front of entire class. You did not like that. You promised that next time I will not waste my time, I will study hard and get good marks. This is example of negative consequence. So these are the 4 things, SOBC. Now let us move to the process of perception. Perception process is basically a 3-step process. It's 4 steps, It starts with stimulus, goes to registration, interpretation and finally the reaction. So when we say stimulus, process of perception begins when individual is confronted with the stimulus. Stimulus is the starting point for any perception process. Then you register it. Stimulus is perceived by individual using the sensory organs. This is known as registration. It involves attaching a certain meaning to the stimulus, that is known as interpretation. Final sub-process is the resultant behavior of individual after interpreting, that is known as reaction. Let me tell you with an example, or maybe 2-3 examples. We were discussing about that. You are moving on a road, driving your car, suddenly you hear that ambulance noise, that ambulance sound. Ambulance sound is basically stimulus. Now through your sensory organ, which in this case is ear, you will perceive, it will get registered inside you, that is known as registration. Then you will attach a meaning. Meaning is, this sound means there is an ambulance, that means I need to give that way. All that interpretation, 3rd step, is going in your mind. And finally reaction will be, you will move your vehicle aside, give way to that particular ambulance, that is known as reaction. Take another example with different sense organ. You are moving on the roadside, suddenly there is a pungent rotten smell. That smell is the stimulus. Your mind will register it, that this smell is coming means something which has rotten or not good is there. It will interpret that this is not good for my nose, it can harm, I should not keep smelling this. And reaction will be, you will cover your nose with hand or hanky, that is known as reaction. So 4 steps: stimulus, registration, interpretation and reaction. This, my dear friends, completes the perception process. This is all, my dear friends, from today's video. If there is any confusion, you can let us know, and in the next video we will do more on the perception process and go further. If there is any confusion, you can write on our mail ID, which is medu.study@gmail.com, or you can write in the comment section. We will get back. If you are liking our content, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you friends. Take care.